Welcome to another video. I've got for you today a film of a treatment I was doing for my son, and he just finished his karate competition, and he's feeling quite done in, so I spent quite a lot of time on the adrenals, you'll see here. But also he has had quite bad cold for a good 3 weeks, it has to be. I know there's lots of colds going around at school, and I'm sure you've already experienced it if you're living in England. So I'd already done a warm-up here to just kind of relax him. He was really wiped out. So the karate competitions, they do go on all day, and it involves getting up really early in the morning, sometimes 3 and 4, travelling to the competition, then training and competing all day, with like over 100 other people sometimes. So the whole situation is quite challenging to the body and the system. If you think about what it does to your circadian rhythm, then you're firing all cylinders all day. My son will have extreme adrenal fatigue afterwards because he spends so much energy during the competition, and they're a gorgeous team together, all his mates together, so they kind of all hype each other up. But the next day he's completely wiped out. Also, it has to be said that competition food is mostly processed rubbish. So we've got a situation where he's deprived of sleep, he's beaten up from doing high kicks and using all these different muscles. He's got this cold that's been going on for 3 weeks, and he's had really high levels of adrenaline running through his body. So it's a bit like, I always use this terminology when I'm thinking about people with stress and overload. It's like you've got one foot on the accelerator and one foot on the brake, and so your body is just burning out with all that energy and adrenaline. So we did a nice bit of relaxation in the beginning, and then I did spend some good amount of time on his adrenal glands, and I often hold the pituitary at the same time just to get some balance in there. My son likes quite heavy pressure, so please don't take this as an example of a typical reflexology session. This is a young man who has a very, very high pain tolerance because he's kicking all the time and leaping into the air, and also lifts heavy weights. So this is not the kind of thing that you would do for someone who doesn't experience those kind of intense sports. I mean, he will jump up on big blocks and things like that. So he likes a lot of pressure there. So, just take that as given that this is quite heavy pressure, because one of the big questions that's often asked in reflexology, in the ask the public, for instance, is does reflexology hurt? And I've even had clients come to me and say, I was told that it was supposed to hurt, otherwise it doesn't work. I don't follow that principle at all. And I will often redirect clients that want to have extreme pressure, too much so that it hurts. It shouldn't hurt. There is that pleasure-pain barrier. And I am, like my son, someone that likes someone to get their knuckles into my digestion on my reflexes and things like that. I quite like all that, and I will include Thai foot massage as much as possible for myself. So that's just to say that, it depends on each unique client. And what I always do is make sure I find out from the client what they like in the treatment and make sure they get more of that. As I always say in my videos, it's not a one size fits all. It's really adapted to what that person needs, what their environment is, what their lifestyle is like. So when I started doing this, it's always a good indication, this, of how tense someone is. And sometimes people don't even realise how tense they are, because when you start to gently manipulate the foot and the ankle, quite often you find that there's a lot of resistance, which means that the person has gone onto your couch and they think they've relaxed, but actually they could relax a lot more. They could let go a lot more. That's why this goes so beautifully with hypnotherapy. But there's a lot more they can let go of. And so I did say to my son, just let go a bit more, and then the foot was totally relaxed, and you can really feel the difference. And that at that moment, it's a really nice experience for your client as well. So I'm just manipulating things here. I have used a technique here from another really well-known reflexologist. I just used it, which was putting my solar plexus of my hand onto the head reflex of my son. So it's a nice calming technique. And I will direct you to that particular reflexologist on YouTube in the notes underneath the video. So what you see there is that I have used Tiger Balm, and I have a few clients that appreciate Tiger Balm when their sinuses are bad. So I will use Tiger Balm over the sinuses because it's like a deep heat. It's really nice, intense feeling on the sinuses, and the particular oils in the Tiger Balm work really well to help ease the sinuses or bring relief. So I've used that on the head and the sinus reflexes. The head because of the head cold, the nose and the throat because obviously it goes right the way down. And of course, when you do have sinus problems, it can affect your eyes, your headaches. You might get intense headaches with it. Your whole face might hurt. When we get mucus, we get it all stuck in that zygomatic bone. So quite often I can include facial reflexology when someone's really struggling with their sinuses. But also, if you think about it, when you have sinus problems, obviously that mucus has to go somewhere, and it usually goes down into your stomach. Because there are times, obviously, not to be too gross, but if we don't spit it out, then it's going down into your stomach, which means your stomach gets upset. So that's why you'll see in this treatment that I will, obviously you do it in every treatment, but I'll pay attention to the liver and gallbladder and the digestion for that particular reason. So here I'm making sure that we go into the neck. Because obviously with the kind of combat that my son is doing, that kinetic chain, from the neck down, all the way down the back, can be deeply affected by the kind of leaps and jumps and just contact with another fighter in karate. Can mean that there's lots of niggles and, pains all over the body. So I'm just really getting in there, feeling those reflexes, seeing where there's tension. What's quite nice to do, and I often do that with some of my clients, is at the end of the treatment, because I'm a massage therapist as well, I will do a quick bit of massage around the neck afterwards, or I would combine this treatment with an Indian head massage and go right into the occipital and down the shoulders and temples. But this is like the equivalent of an Indian head massage. And just quick note about tiger balm. Be very careful because it's really intense. And that's why you use it, because it really sinks into the reflexes. But do remember to wash your hands afterwards. I mean, I know you wash your hands after a reflexology treatment anyway, but I feel obliged to say that because we have 5 dogs as well. So it's very important that the dogs don't go and get any of that tiger balm on them. So another important point here is that you'll see I've got one of my meditation cushions on top of another cushion for my son, because he's really tall and his feet are really big. So I used one of my meditation stool cushions just to hike up those plates of meat a bit more. Heard that expression, plates of meat for feet, Cockney rhyming slang? So I'm going down through the shoulders. I often use this technique because clients really like it. So I'm kind of hooking around the front and the back, and so getting into the knee reflexes and the hamstrings, but also working on that shoulder as well. And lots of work around the pelvis. And the diaphragm. This can be such a powerful technique. If you think emotional stress or anything where we've been in a job that's, we're hunched over our desk all day, or we've been upset about something, or we're nervous about something, there's something coming up. All those things have an effect on our diaphragm because we tend to hunch over or we tend to shallow breathe. So opening up the diaphragm like that is so beautiful for a client. Such a lovely thing to do. And obviously here I'm getting into the liver because of those possible digestive complications brought on by having too much mucus in the body. Gallbladder, the IC valve. I think the IC valve, as ileocecal valve, is such a powerful reflex if you think about in medieval times, talk about how someone is full of phlegm. And what I've noticed is, particularly in IBS, and I suffered from it myself. I experienced it, I would say, but it is suffering for quite a while. So the ileocecal valve, if that's compromised, if it's not working sufficiently, it may stop the elimination process from taking place fully. So as I always mention, when we are stressed, our gut is like our second brain. And I've been doing lots of psychosensory therapy recently with clients. And one of the most fascinating things is that when people are traumatized by something, that gets locked into receptors on the amygdala, and that stays there until something's done, some kind of therapy is done to remove that locked in AMPA receptor. So I use lots of techniques for trauma. But if that trauma is locked into your system like that, before you're even aware of it, it will be triggered by things you're not even aware of. That's why you may think, why am I getting upset? Why do I feel nauseous? Or why do I feel really jumpy and irritable? And there's nothing that seems to be causing an issue. It happens faster than a blink. So anything that you've experienced that was, particularly upsetting, it's got locked into that lateral part of the amygdala. And so that means that if we are re-triggered without even being aware of it, we can't rationalise it. And so when you think about IBS and, being in that state of stress, that stops you digesting properly. And part of the digestion process is that ileocecal valve. So if you're being re-stressed by something, you can't rationally talk your way out of that. It has to involve particular psychosensory techniques. And that's why, IBS can be something that's ongoing, because you are constantly being stressed by something and you're not even aware that it's happening before, and it kind of happens before you've got any control over it. Typical examples are those type A students who are trying to do too much, and they're getting themselves really, really stressed at college. Or it may be a situation you've been in where you couldn't really get out of it and you were stressed. It may be that your job is very challenging, a relationship is very challenging. And so, all those things going on in your environment can end up with your ileocecal valve and your digestive system being compromised. So you may have, lots of bloating and think, what the hell, I've hardly eaten anything, or I haven't eaten anything bad, or, lots of people are baffled when they think they have a good diet, bad and good diet, in quotes there. But it's a process of eliminating and tracking what's going on in the body to bring that IC valve back into balance and to bring digestion back into balance. So I'm doing lots of work here on the spine. There's obviously all that jumping up in the air and kicking and stuff. And just general tension and stress is all impacted on the spine. So I'm using quite a lot of coconut oil here. I'm doing the diaphragm again. But I'm using quite a lot of coconut oil because my son really likes it. And I am still able to read the reflexes well. But some reflexologists, practitioners, prefer not to use oil or cream because, they think it interferes with the treatment. And I think that's, just as important to know when you're working with a client. If you think the oil is getting in the way, just do it without oil if it's affecting your ability to read the reflexes. And don't use oil. So I'm getting right into the shoulder there. If you can hear that yowling in the background, it's one of my cats. She does not like not being involved in this voiceover. So she's making it known.
It is hot in here.
So just imagine the shoulder and the collarbone and the neck spaces all getting manipulated and stretched out. And going into the heart and chest and lungs. Obviously, with sinus issues, the chest and lungs get compromised as well, so just giving the body a good workout through the reflexes. And again, this is me getting my knuckles in there because that's something that my son appreciates like I do in someone giving me a treatment, but it's not for everyone. It really is dependent on the client, so please don't take this that you need to use anything. That's the tiger balm going on the sinuses now. You use anything other than gentle pressure if that's what your client wants. And obviously, we've all been trained to ask if that pressure is okay at the start of your treatment. That's a really nice thing to do as well because it tells your client that they're important and that they're not just, number 4 in the day, that they are really important, that you care about giving them a really gorgeous treatment, that you care that they get the experience of deep relaxation and relief and space and peace. Your client may come in and want to chat. They may come in and just want to switch off immediately. Sometimes clients come in and want you to do a full diagnosis through the treatment, which is not appropriate because we cannot diagnose or prescribe. We can ask them about their lifestyle. We could point them in the direction of, say, a yoga specialist or a Pilates teacher or a nutritionist or another hypnotherapist, but I think they should use me. But you know what I mean. it's not, they can ask you for advice and you can point them to people that are a specialist in that area. I will point out that sometimes my posture in this will be compromised, but that's because it's really difficult to film. My husband's actually lying on the floor or upside down or doing a side plank, trying to get the film for me. So always be very careful of your posture. And of course, David Waite has done a lot on finger-free reflexology, so you can obviously use that as well. You will see I often use my forearm along the spine and in the digestion, and that's not a reflex technique, that's a massage technique which I bring in because I know how good it feels. But if you see that, just know that it's not something taught in the traditional reflexology course. It's something I just like to bring in for people because everyone seems to love it. My cat is really not happy. I may have mentioned this before, but we've got 5 dogs, but they've just gone to bed now. Four of them are brothers and sisters, and the boss is the elder, Morris, who's a cockapoo. And then we've got Oreo, Clive, Hetty, and Colin. And they're all brothers and sisters. And then 2 cats, Luna and Sky. And it's Luna who's shouting her head off out there. Getting in that shoulder again. So, what's interesting here is how our body misaligns after maybe just sitting in the car. But my son was more aware of the sacral region in the left side of his spine, not so aware of the congestion in his left shoulder. But of course what happens is we adapt, don't we? We adapt the way we stand if we've got pain in other regions. So he may be hunching over his left shoulder because he experienced that lower back pain in the left side. And also, you can't really see it on the video, but be aware that any dark shadows or dark patches around certain reflexes can tell you that that area is needs more energy or is stagnating a bit. So that's something I learnt from Sam Bellier. And also Angela Telford's written quite a lot on this. Both are brilliant. If you want to treat yourself, get Angela Telford's visual reflexology, or get Sam Bellier's advanced foot reflexology, foot reading. So they're both absolutely fascinating. It's well worth getting. Just getting into the pelvis there and the digestion. And the intercostals, don't forget the intercostals at the top there. Love having the intercostals done. See that nice twitch then? What's the bit you find the most relaxing, Bo? What bit of your foot?
The inside bit, like
There.
but on the bottom.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah, digestion. Some people are aware that their feet are twitching and some people aren't. In fact, I had a client the other day, she's a regular, and it was the first time she said she really experienced the twitching. It's just like it was a real shock. But it's lovely as well, because it's the body going, okay, taking care of that. Yeah, noted, doing a bit of rebooting. It's lovely feedback for us as reflexologists, getting in the spleen there. Obviously, when you've been run down, you want to get in that spleen. Does anyone else has reflexology find the spleen the most gorgeous point? That's one of my favourites, along with digestion. I'm intermittently doing more pancreas work as well, because my son's diet at karate was rubbish. I don't think there was a vegetable in sight the whole day. So now I'm getting down into transverse. I'm doing lots of this because my son really likes it. And then descending into the colon. And then the adrenal and kidneys as well. Now sometimes I have clients where I use a tie stick on the heel because they really like it. They like that intense pressure. And also because, as I'm sure you've heard from other reflexology teachers, it really can be very hard on your thumbs to do the heels. So you can either use your knuckles, or if it's appropriate with your client, they might like a tie stick. Or you might do double thumb pressure, put one thumb over the other and push down, like that. You just saw that. Just experiment with it. Make sure that the heel is fully done. Because that whole pelvis region, colon helper, ovary helpers, all in there. And lots of spinal work. And when I go back over certain regions, it's because I can feel something that needs work. Left upper to middle side of your back, Bo. Needs a bit of stretching.
I feel it on my lower back.
I haven't got there yet, but it's definitely left upper to middle.
Bo, can you message your sister to get Colin in, please?
So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys.
guess he is.
Nice bit of work on the lower
Oh, is that
back
fine?
there.
Who's that side?
A couple more minutes to go. Leave any comments or questions underneath. And
actually
I'll
behind your
upload another
left
video as
leg
soon
as
as I
well.
can.
It's an imbalance. So you need to do the stretching.
The wonderful world of reflexology. What an amazing modality. Constantly growing, constantly learning. I was doing some training last week through the Association of Reflexologists, who are doing amazing work right now. They are on fire. So if you're curious, if you haven't started, I'm a member of the Association of Reflexologists, and they are doing incredible things. So it's worth a look. There's so many resources there, lots of research. It's definitely worth the membership. Okay, guys. See you soon. Have a wonderful week. Okay, very deep breath in. And release. Welcome to another video. I've got for you today